What's up guys, it's Horseman Sam and I'm back with another video on the Escape. If you've seen my other two videos, the one where I did the original car review like 2 years ago, and then there was the one where I did a 1-year review, well this is going to be our 2-year review video. Right now it's November 16th and I got this car on October, I think 8th. So I'm a little late on making this video, and by the time it comes out it's probably going to be December just because I'm really bad at the scheduling, uploading thing, whatever. If you haven't seen my other two videos on this car, I'm going to give you a quick rundown, or you can go back and watch those two. I have a 2005 Ford Escape with a 3-liter V6 and a 4-speed automatic. It also has the intelligent 4-wheel drive system from Ford, which I don't really understand why they call it intelligent, but it's just an automatic 4-wheel drive system. Mine has an aftermarket 2-liter Kenny Bell's twin-screw supercharger on it with a custom bracket. I also have a custom exhaust, a different intake, a custom tune, and some other goodies here and there like lighting, suspension. Right now I'm riding on BC Racing coilovers. These wheels are from a 2005 Mustang GT wrapped in BF Goodrich. What are these? These wheels are off the 2005 Mustang GT and they're wrapped in BF Goodrich Advantage TAs. And then if you look over there, I just have stickers everywhere because horsepower is needed. I'm also running my third motor in this car, and there's a long story to that. So if you saw my 1-year anniversary video, know that I went through a motor and I actually got a second motor, but now I'm on my third. So on December 29th of 2017, my motor actually gave way. What happened was it lost too much oil via leaks, and then I just wasn't paying attention to the oil levels. Turns out the dipstick wasn't all the way in, and a little bit of the blowback actually forced the dipstick all the rest of the way out, so that oil was going back through the little dipstick hole thingy. So my motor just lost a bunch of oil, and then it was running dry, and then I tried flooring it one time to race a friend, and then my motor just spun a bearing, and that was not fun. So what ended up happening is we took it to the Ford dealership, but they wanted to charge us like $7 grand to swap in a motor. We were just not having it. Instead I took it to my mechanic, and we were able to find an old donor motor out of another 2005 Ford Escape from a local junkyard, and we swapped that in, and then we replaced almost everything. And when I say we replaced almost everything, that's basically gaskets, but we did swap everything over. So we swapped over the supercharger, the exhaust, and everything else. Before we got the new motor put in, I did go out and get brand new gaskets minus the head gaskets, so valve cover, oil pan, timing chain cover, water pump. We even got a brand new water pump kit. We got a brand new timing chain rebuild kit. And since the motor was out, we were just like, hey, why the hell not? So we went ahead and got MSDS headers. The problem with the MSDS headers is that they make the headers and they're supposed to make a custom wide pipe to fit a front wheel drive version of the Escape, but since mine's a 4-wheel drive, that wide pipe didn't fit. So what ended up happening is the shop actually had to make a different connecting wide pipe for the headers, which actually wasn't that bad. Plus they're really cool guys, and they were able to get everything done like within a relatively pretty short time frame. So we got that motor put in. I got it back early February of 2018 or so, and it was running pretty well. You know, I was doing a better job of checking my oil levels. I was changing my oil every 3,000 miles. Now jump forward to May of 2018. I think it was about May 20th or so. I was on a delivery because I work as a delivery driver, and I've been driving around all day and the car had been running fine, not showing any signs of it having any problems whatsoever. So I was on my way back from a delivery, and then all of a sudden my car just started like chugging really hard, and then like I would try to give it gas, but it wasn't accepting it, wouldn't go anywhere. I was like really confused, but I was about like a quarter of a mile from the store, so I was like, alright, let's get the car back to the store, we'll park it, and then we'll kind of see what's happening, and then we'll just tell my manager that I can't take deliveries anymore for the rest of the day, right? Wrong! So what ended up happening is my store is at the bottom of this really small hill, and then there's a light at the top of the hill. So when I'm stopped at the stoplight, my car just shuts off completely and there's smoke coming from underneath my hood, and I'm sitting there thinking, fuck! The car's already dead at this point, so I just throw it in park, I run out, I pop the hood, I open it, and my car's on fire. So my car's on fire, I don't have a fire extinguisher, I'm freaking out because there's still fuel in the fuel lines and the injectors. I'm thinking, anything could melt, it could get worse, and then something could potentially blow up and my car could just burn to the ground. I don't want that. So my immediate instinct is to call 911. Thankfully someone else called 911 because we had police and the fire department show up in like Not even 60 seconds, really good timing. But thank God we stopped next to a restaurant because the restaurant owner came running out with a fire extinguisher and put out the fire before it could get any worse. So I'm sitting there, I'm blocking traffic, my car's not moving, and I am just bewildered that my car just caught fire out of nowhere. I have no idea like what it could have caused it. So I'm pissed. I have to call the store like, hey, I'm at the top of the hill, I'm almost back, just know that my car caught fire, is gonna be a while. So right now, you can probably guess, I'm flustered, I'm pissed as fuck. Another coworker comes with his truck, gets a little tow rope thing and tows me off to the side of the road into a parking lot of a bank where I'm not blocking traffic anymore. Then I had to call the tow truck, load the car onto the tow truck, have my friend come pick me up. My friend has to take me to the store so I can count my money out for my boss and clock out while the tow truck is following us. And then we have to tell the tow truck where to go, but he doesn't know where my shop is. And it's already like 7:30, 8:30 at night. It was somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact time or day. We drop it off at the shop. I come back home. I'm pissed, and then I have to sit down and talk with my parents about what we're going to do about it. And yes, I say I have to talk to my parents because this is mommy and daddy's money, basically. My parents help buy the car, my parents pay for the insurance, the plates. My parents even pay for both motor swaps, so bless their hearts, but I do owe them back for this motor swap in general. And this last motor swap cost us about $2,500 for just labor and everything. So I was talking to the guys at the shop, I let them know what happened to the car, and we're just sitting here thinking, what's going to be the best route for the car? It's either do we scrap it or do we try to see if we can fix the fire damage? Because at this point we didn't know that the motor was fucked. So the guys brought it into the shop, we did some inspection. Turns out we need a new intake manifold because the ones on these cars, the outside is like plastic, so the fire actually melted a hole through the bottom of it. And if you see these intake manifolds, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It needed some new wiring for some harnesses that caught fire. It needed like a new coolant reservoir because that melted. It needed new fuel injector lines. It needed a new power steering hose. So once they had everything inspected, we kind of determined what caused the fire. My original thoughts were it was an electrical fire, and because the wiring harness melted, so I thought that's where that came from. What we think happened is when the car died, the power steering hose actually came off and was through power steering fluid everywhere, and that caught fire, and you can kind of guess what happened from there. So I talked it over with the folks. We were like, all right, we're gonna have the shop quote us, and then we're gonna quote that to our insurance company and see what they can cover. So the shop quoted us about $1,800 or so for just total fire damage with new parts and labor and everything else. And then insurance quoted us about $1,700. So we were like, okay, you know what? That's not bad. 17 out of 18, that's only 100 out of pocket. We'll do it. So I had my shop worn out the parts. We got the new parts and everything in, and then they replaced it. They got everything fixed, and then the car still didn't work. So now we're thinking, all right, what's going on? Why is the car not wanting to run properly? And at this point in time, it has already been a month. And seeing as how the last engine swap only took a month total for everything, this one was taking way longer than it should have. And I was like, okay, what's going on? What are we missing? So the guys took the car, they took everything else apart, and they took the motor out. So when they took the motor out, it turns out that the timing chain snapped. So my pistons and my valves were like desynchronized, and my pistons hit the valves and bent all of my valves. I'm here thinking, how in the fuck am I the guy who has the motor where every single one of his valves is just now completely fucked? What we're thinking is the engine lost oil pressure, so the timing chain just got dry or something, and the timing chain snapped, which sucks because that was a brand new timing chain kit. So now we're thinking, alright, do we swap heads, which takes a lot of time and a lot of labor? Do we swap motors, which still takes a lot of time and a lot of labor, but not as much? Or do we scrap it? So I go back, I tell my parents what happened, and I'm like, I really, really want to keep the car. I really like driving it. If you guys actually want to sell, because I know the title's in your name, let's at least get it running, and I can at least get back what you paid for originally. I said I'm not going to be able to get back what you guys paid for in repairs. We talked it over, we came to a consensus that if we're going to swap the motors, I'm going to be the one to pay for it, except I didn't have the money at the time. So I told them, if you guys pay for the motor swap, I'll take a break semester from college, I'll work as much as I can, and I'll pay you back during the spring. So that's what ended up happening. The guys from the shop actually found another donor motor from some place in Indiana or whatever the fuck. That motor got shipped here, but they're like a really small shop with a lot of projects that they have to work on. And it just so happens that mine kind of like was put back on the waiting list just because of time and money, and it's whatever. So they got the motor in, they swapped everything over again, you know, headers, supercharger, I mean literally everything. So the guys actually ended up boarding out new gaskets for me, so like valve cover gaskets, exhaust gaskets, some really small stuff like that. I don't actually know how many miles were on this motor before it got put in, so right now the car's saying at 161,000 miles, the motor's running okay right now. So big thanks to Dillon Automotive in East Peoria. They were a big help. They were really patient with everything. They have really good rates. They're all really cool guys. They know what they're doing, and they got everything done as quickly as they could given how much stuff that they have to work on and how small of a team that they are. So from start to finish, this second motor swap went from May 20th to about April 20th, I want to say. So 3 whole months. So I basically went the entire summer without my car, and that was really, really disappointing. But I have her back, got her back in time for fall, and we're still in fall, even though it basically feels like winter outside, which is why I'm cold right now. But in 2018 in general, I did very few upgrades just because I had to spend so much on like just trying to fix the fucking thing. As far as mods and upgrades, the only big thing that came in 2018 was I got a custom A-pillar gauge pod made for me by Broadfield Customs in Normal, Illinois. And then for gauges, I got AEM X Series boost, AFR, and oil pressure gauges. Those alone were about 170 to 180, 90 bucks a piece, no, depending on the gauge. And I had those put in the same time we were doing the motor swap just because everything was apart, it was already in the shop, it just made sense. I also got an SCT live wire tuning wire thing, if that's what it's called. Basically, it hooks up directly to my AEM gauges so that when I plug in my tuner, I can plug it into my OBD tube. I can take the other wire and plug it directly into my tuner, and then I can plug the tuner into the computer and it will data log off the engine's computer, and it will data log off the gauges for like boost and air fuel ratio, which is really, really nice. In terms of repairs, you already know the fucking engine swap, that was a doozy. What is nice is when Dillon did the first motor swap, they noticed that the bracket was kinda off, so they remachined it down so that the supercharger would sit a tad bit more squared up with the motor, so they did that for free. So that was really, really nice of them. They were really nice guys. Also, big shout out to Toby Broadfield from Broadfield Customs. I highly recommend you guys go check out his website. He does a lot of custom gauge clusters, but he did my A-pillar gauge pod for about 160 bucks, and that's shipping and handling and the actual labor itself. All I had to do was send him my original A-pillar and a universal 3-gauge pod, and then he was able to take the universal pod, cut it out and mold it and fit it to my original A-pillar, and it still fits in the car. He also told me to send in the other A-pillar on the passenger side so that he could color match them, because he was going to paint them to match the rest of the interior of the car, because this is a two-toned interior car. So it's like the top half is like a tan beige, but the bottom half is like a weird gray. So I sent him both A-pillars. He made the original custom gauge pod, but then he painted them both to match the rest of the interior, which is really nice of him. So I sent him my stuff around Valentine's Day, and I didn't get it back until about May 14th, which was right in time for my motor to get fucked. But I can't be angry, you can't rush perfection. This is custom work, so it is going to take a little bit longer. Plus when he painted it, he had to make sure he got the paint color correct, and he was pretty close. On top of that, you had to wait for the paint to cure, and then he finally sent it, but I'm not disappointed. I would absolutely recommend him any day of the week. As far as repair goes, the car was making a little bit of a squeaking noise from the driver's side, and it turns out that my CV axle was completely fucked. Also, my tie rods were kind of messed up, so we had the front CV axles and tie rods swapped out. And then I was driving around there, and it was still making noise, so I sent it back to Dillon. Looks like the sway bar end links were also a little bit shaky, so I ended up having to replace the sway bar end links. And then the brakes were getting bad, it's just standard maintenance, so you had to replace the brakes. So I got new brake pads and new brake rotors. And then just basic oil changing every 3,000 miles. The 3-liter V6s take 5W20 oil. I know the original builder ran Castrol with titanium protection, so right now that's what I'm running, but I'm thinking about swapping in oils. But I think the type of oil you run is purely preference, so don't take my word for it. There's still a couple things that need to be fixed on the car, but they're rather minor at this point. So I use halo headlights from Spec D Tuning. As far as I know, Spec D is the only company that makes aftermarket halo headlights for this year make and model of Escape. So your options are kind of limited there unless you want to retrofit it yourself. I didn't feel like doing that because I wasn't an expert on headlights at the time. I'm still not an expert on headlights, so I just figured we'll just buy these and run with them. But enough about the bad shit, let's get on to the good shit. So like I said, this is a Kenny Bell 2-liter twin screw style supercharger. Now these superchargers actually came as kits for the smaller 2.3-liter motors, I believe. But the first owner decided to take it and then just make a custom bracket and mount it to this car with a bigger motor. So that's really fucking cool. I'm the third owner of the car, and sadly I don't have any pictures from the other previous 2 owners. I'll throw a link in the description to the original builder's build list of what he had to do. And if I can ever procure some more pictures, I'll try to post them in my Instagram or my Facebook page, somewhere where you guys can see it. I almost forgot to mention that my antenna got ripped off in a car wash because I was really stupid. I'm running through my mod list right now just because I don't actually remember everything. BC Racing coilovers, we had to get a new supercharger belt, MSDS headers with a custom exhaust. Before I go on, I want to talk about the exhaust real quick. Well, like I mentioned, I have MSDS headers with a custom Y pipe. From the Y pipe, it's a flex pipe, a straight pipe, a MagnaFlow muffler, and then it just dumps out the back because it's a full MagnaFlow catback, but there's no cats in it anymore, so I guess it's just a MagnaFlow back. I want to say the headers are 1 1/4 or 1 3/8 inch. I don't remember, you would have to email MSDS about that. Going back to the mod list, the custom A-pillar gauge pod, the AM boost gauge, AM oil pressure gauge, air fuel ratio gauge, with the wideband O2 sensor to go. Different grille, halo headlights, tinted tail lights, smoke fog lights, stickers everywhere. Let's see, different intake. We got a new Kenwood stereo in there with some new JBL 2-way speakers, and they sound really, really nice. We also had the timing cover gaskets replaced. We had the valve cover gasket replaced. Also got a Mishimoto baffled oil cash can, which I'll show you guys later. 2 motor swaps, just because fuck me. And then with the first motor, we had a bunch of money put into like new gaskets and everything, but that doesn't even matter anymore because we didn't do that for the second one. I also wrapped my headers in heat wrap just to kind of keep the temperatures inside the engine bay itself down. What's nice is MSDS will actually ceramic coat your headers for you for like an extra $100 or so, but it was going to take like an extra week and a half for the headers to ship, and we didn't have that kind of time, so I was just like, just send them. If you don't ceramic coat them and you do wrap them in heat wrap, the heat wrap will actually trap moisture and your headers will rust faster, but it's wrapped in heat wrap, so no one's going to see the rust anyways. With the wideband O2 sensor, AM actually sends a little bung that you can weld into your exhaust with it, so that's really nice. I almost forgot, when we swapped over this third motor, we also had to replace the alternator just because the other one was just covered in oil and we didn't want to take the chance of it just being a really shitty alternator. There are some other smaller bits that the previous 2 owners did. I just don't feel like rattling off just because I don't think it's significant enough, and if you do want to wonder, like I said, the original build list is somewhere down there. Now the last time I checked, there were I think 5 supercharged Escapes in the world, but a lot of people are saying that I might be the last one left, and I don't know if that's true. If you go on YouTube and just search, like supercharged Escape, you'll find my original video, but then there was also a video of a black one with a different supercharger. There was one of a white Escape with the same supercharger on the smaller motor. Motor Trend magazine actually wrote an article about supercharged Escape, I think back in 2004 or something like that, give or take. Apparently there was a chick that used to have a supercharged Escape, but that has neither been confirmed nor denied, so really it's 4 confirmed, 1 possible. Now as far as I know, the one from Motor Trend doesn't exist anymore, or it's just been lost to the world. I have no idea what happened to the white one. I have no idea what happened to the black one. So as far as I know, this is the only confirmed supercharged Escape that exists. The 2 questions that I get asked most often are, how much power does it make? How much torque does it have? To answer both of those questions right now, I don't know. This car has never been on a dyno. Part of that is because I've never had the time or money to take it to a dyno shop for a day or so, just because I've always been busy with work or school or something else. And if I do seem to have time, I usually don't have money. So it's kind of like this evil scale. It's just like, it will never be balanced. It just goes like, it's either here or I'm here. But the car has been tuned. It was actually tuned by Tori from Unleashed Tuning. The maps for this car are actually based off, I think, a 94 Ford Supercharged Thunderbird. I've been meaning to, at the very least, street tune it, but that requires time and money, and I either have one or the other. So yeah, you kind of see my problem. If I had to guess horsepower, it would probably be anywhere between 270 to 300, somewhere in there, which I know isn't actually a lot, but considering these things only had, I think, 200 from the factory, and I'm running a like very, very low boost, I think 270 to 300 sounds about right. As far as torque, I guess around 300 pound-feet. Like, you floor it, and this is a very torquey car. The torque steer is manageable, but it is noticeable. Thank God it has four-wheel drive, because if your front wheels spin and you don't move, the rear wheels will kick in, and then you'll just fucking launch, and it's great. Also, the exhaust note on this thing sounds pretty okay. Now, I have gone wide open throttle a couple times just to have fun and see how the motor runs. Most I've seen is about 6.2 pounds of boost, give or take. There have been a couple times where like I'm parked or I'm just stopped at a stoplight and I'm idling, and then out of nowhere the car will just want to lean way out. I have no idea what's causing that. I haven't looked into it, but that is something that does need to be addressed. And now here's a clip of the gauges working. Alright, so here you have your oil pressure, and then my air-fuel ratio, and then my boost gauges all the way down here. And what's nice is that you can press these little buttons on all three of these, and then you can change like where, if there's like a limit that you want to set, you can put like a little red line. You can read this in different forms. So this is just typical air-fuel ratio. If you want to, you can read this in lambda. Same with this. If you don't want to read it in like PSI, you can read it in like whatever the fucking metric system is, I don't remember. Question I get asked a lot is, what is its 0 to 60 time? I honestly don't know. I've never timed it, but from what I read from the previous owners is that it has about a 6-second 0 to 60, which I think is pretty okay. But I want to thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching to the end of this video. If you like it, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to keep up on this build, I suggest you subscribe. I don't post videos often about the car, but if something drastic does come up, I usually do, minus the fucking motor swaps, I guess. A better way of following my build is probably following me on the Instagram, and there's a link in the description below. If you want to, you can also follow me on my Facebook page. But yeah, that's what it's been like driving this car for about 2 years. It's been pretty fun, a little hectic, a lot of time and money has gone into this. Do I regret it? At some points. Do I really like driving the car? all the time. I really like driving this car. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna keep it. At the very least, we're gonna make do with what we can and have fun while we have the time. With all that being said, I will see you guys for my 3rd year anniversary video. Maybe. See you later.